Hello, fellow members of the Midnight Society. Welcome back to another episode review from the show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Last time, we covered The Tale of the Dark Music, a story about a boy who finds a magic door in his basement that will give him whatever he desires, for a steep price. Tonight's narrative, by Kristen, is about three teens who try to track down the ghost of a girl who died on prom night. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this Season 1, Episode 12, The Tale of the Prom Queen. We open on the woods where a figure dressed in all white slowly makes their way through the trees. Like, very slowly. Like, clearly they can't see where they're going slowly. Anyway, we transition to the Midnight Society where everyone is looking extremely bored. Frank approaches with some firewood and says,
"She's still not here?"
The she in question is Kristen, and once it gets brought up, everyone starts trash-talking her yet again. How is Kristen the most hated member of the group? Like, that spot should be exclusively reserved for Eric. What did she do, aside from telling the tale of the hungry hounds, to make everyone so negative towards her? Anyway, the group gets startled by the figure in white, and they all retreat to a safe distance where David asks who they are, and we get the following response.
I've come to tell you a story.
Okay, maybe this is why everyone hates her. Also, did she make the entire trek through the woods in the costume? Kristen, you're making extra work for yourself, right? You just go through, get to the outskirts, then put the costume on, then approach. You don't wander through the woods like that. Liable to get a branch in the face or wander into the wrong campsite where they actually believe in ghosts. Huh? Hoo-hoo-hoo! Hey, Pa! I done shot me a ghost! Well, of course I know it's a ghost. It's bleeding them ghost colors. So Kristen has gone full method actor and tells the gang that her tale is one that's been told around many campfires, but that she's going to tell the true version. Okay. So, a popular horror tale. What are we talking? Summer camp serial killer? Hook hand murderer? The I saw what you did slasher? The ghost in the mirror?
Tale of the Prom Queen.
I don't think that's been told around as many campfires as you think it has. The tale begins in a cemetery, which is a great start for a scary story. But it's on a lovely sunny day, which makes it look just like an ideal spot for a picnic. We see one of our main characters, Dee Dee, laying flowers at a grave. She starts to look around as though something has spooked her, and as she walks away from the grave, we hear a faint cackle in the distance. We then get a few shots of the camera just panning through various cemetery scenes. Not really sure the desired effect here, but I did pick out a few good grave plots. We then have another scene of Dee Dee hearing a faint sound and looking weirded out, followed by more glamour shots of the cemetery. I mean, it's a good-looking cemetery, but can we get some story going? Also, this cemetery is remarkably empty. I mean, of living people, not like empty graves or anything like that. It's a massive cemetery, and there's literally no one there visiting any graves or keeping the grounds. What a ghost town, am I right? I apologize. I'll just see myself out. Dee Dee rounds a corner and gets spooked by some birds? Bats? Bird bats? Anyway, she then rounds another corner and then this happens. What kind of douche nozzle hangs out in a cemetery during the day to jump out and frighten people?
Hey, we're just having a goof.
The answer is Jam and Greg. Wait. One of their names is Jam? I don't even know why I'm still surprised by this anymore, Canada. Who names their kid after fruit preserves? I mean, who, aside from eccentric celebrities, names their kid after fruit preserves?
Leave me alone, I know this one.
Everybody knows this one.
So Jam and Greg... Jam and Greg. It sounds like a lame disc jockey duo from a morning show. Hey, you're listening to The Morning Stool with Jam and Greg. I'm Jam, and, well, Greg, he's still in the hospital after a cemetery prank gone wrong. The boys introduce themselves and apologize for scaring Dee Dee. Greg then asks the following stupid question.
What are you doing here by yourself?
She's sunbathing. What the f*** do you think she's doing at a cemetery? Not everyone hangs out there to scare people, Greg. Dee Dee explains that she was bringing flowers to a grave, to which Jam responds,
Or maybe looking for ghosts.
or bringing flowers to a grave. It's then revealed that Jam and Greg are there looking for ghosts. Prom night's coming up in a few days, and there's a legend about the ghost of the prom queen. Dee Dee's unfamiliar with it, prompting Greg to ask if she's from around there. Whoa. Calm down, Greg. You're coming off a little desperate. I'm just saying, I'm in a cemetery, you're in a cemetery, we're both in a cemetery, we should totally date. Dee Dee says that she used to live around there, but is currently just visiting. Greg goes to tell her the tale, but Jam cuts him off, stating that he tells it better.
It happened a long time ago. On prom night.
By better, he must mean slower.
Slow it down, slowing. Slow it down, slowing. Slow it down.
Apparently, a girl was waiting for her date to pick her up on prom night outside the cemetery. I'm sorry, what? Why was she waiting outside the cemetery? Hey, you want to go to prom with me? Sure, I'd like that. Great. Pick you up at your place around 7? Ooh, no. Pick me up at the cemetery. Wait, why? Well, I never tell boys where I live on the first date. Anyway, it was a foggy night and the girl was hit by a car. Jam finishes the story with this.
And a couple of days later, they buried her. In her prom dress.
Why would they bury her in her prom dress? No one is getting buried in the clothes they were mangled in from a car accident. Was she an orphan that had no home? I mean, at least then that might explain getting picked up in a public place and being buried in the clothes she had on.
You're just getting spooked.
Also, why is the legend surrounding this girl's death the legend of the prom queen? She never even made it to prom. I mean, admittedly, that does sound better than the legend of the girl who was waiting to be picked up for prom at a cemetery before being hit by a car in the fog and then buried in the only outfit that she owned because she had no parents or people who cared about her. Jam says that every year on prom night, the ghost of the girl comes back. And Greg says that they're going to see if it's true, and that they've been looking for a grave that might belong to the ghost. Jam then invites Dee Dee to join them in the creepiest of ways.
You want to help? It's a big cemetery.
Dee Dee agrees, and Jam says this.
Excellent. Let's go ghost hunting, boys and ghouls.
What is this guy's problem? Jam is a stone's throw away from dancing naked and tucked in front of a mirror while crafting a skin suit out of his victims. We cut to the trio sitting outside near an ice cream truck, enjoying some treats and discussing the mystery. Greg says he wants to find out if there actually was a car accident, because otherwise they're just wasting their time. I like that this idea came to him after a full day of searching for a grave at the cemetery. Shouldn't that have been, I don't know, step 1, Greg? Dee Dee suggests they go to the police and ask to see a record of car accidents. Jam shoots the idea down as being dumb, and then Greg suggests they check newspapers, citing there would have been an obituary or an article on the accident. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, just look for the headline, local girl buried in the only dress she owned. I can't let it go. I'm sorry. I can't. We cut to the local library where Dee Dee, Greg, and Jam are looking through old newspapers on microfilm. They find an article about a girl killed in a car accident on prom night, and Greg looks at Jam like he wants to kiss him. Maybe he does. I mean, Greg's been coming across real thirsty with Dee Dee, so maybe he just doesn't care where he gets a drink. While they're discussing the article, the door creeps open behind them, and we see the shadow of someone entering the room. The article reveals the girl's name was Judy, and her date's name was Ricky. After Judy was killed, Ricky was so upset he drove his car off a bridge, but police never found the body or the car. This prompts Jam to say,
Excellent. 2 gruesome deaths.
Okay, psycho. The kids are interrupted by a noise in the darkness. A light pops on, and it's an old lady with a tea tray offering them some tea. Either this library has excellent service, or this lady's a creeper who just carries around a tea tray offering refreshments to strangers. Back outside, Jam is giving the other two a hard time about being scared by the old lady in the library. Greg says that this whole thing is getting old, but Dee Dee disagrees. She says they should help the ghosts by contacting the spirit of the dead boyfriend. Apparently, he missed a message from Judy, which is why he never went to pick her up. Dee Dee thinks if they can get him that message, he'll pick up her ghost and they can then rest. Nope. No, I've seen The Ring, seen The Grudge, seen The Lady in Black, right? No good comes from helping ghosts. Nope, not at all. Unless that ghost is Patrick Swayze, am I right? Ha ha! Up top.
See ya.
Dee Dee tells the boys to meet her later to try to contact the ghost. Greg asks if she really believes in this stuff. She says she doesn't know, but that it's kind of fun. Greg says she's a strange person, but he likes that, to which Dee Dee replies, And for those of you playing the home game, that's a pretty big clue for the ending. Later that night, the trio takes a boat out to where Ricky drove his car off the bridge. Jam asks if they need a medium to contact a spirit, and Dee Dee says no. They just need to concentrate and suggests they all hold hands. I like how suddenly Dee Dee's an expert on contacting the dead. Anyway, Greg continues to whine about what they're doing there while Dee Dee instructs them all to clear their minds and try to imagine Ricky. Please. If it were that easy, people would be talking to ghosts all the time. David? I'm sorry, forgive me, Mr. Bowie. I just have to ask the one question that's been on everyone's mind for years. In Labyrinth, was that all you, or did you stuff your tights? Dee Dee starts giving even more instructions to contact Ricky.
To contact Ricky's spirit, we have to picture him.
How does she know this? Jam even comments about it.
Hey, you're pretty good at this.
As they follow Dee Dee's lead, bubbles appear in the river, freaking Greg out. Dee Dee pushes on until more bubbles appear, this time causing Jam to get nervous, and Greg says that what they're doing is stupid, and, well, the river doesn't care for the sass. The kids row to shore, and after a few moments, the bubbling stops. Greg then starts justifying what could have caused the bubbles. He's clearly flipping out over it, but refuses to entertain the possibility of ghosts because ghosts aren't real. Then why were you going along with this from the start? The character motivation makes no sense. First, you're in a cemetery, willingly tracking down a grave for the better part of a day, and now you're like, ghosts aren't real, this is dumb. Just pick one story and stick with it. Jam says there's only one way to know if ghosts are real or not, and that's to meet at the graveyard the following night. The next day, they check the cemetery registry and find a grave for Judy. They decide to wait in a place where they can see the grave and the road to the cemetery. While en route, Greg turns into a broken record again.
You don't really believe all this stuff, do you?
Oh my god. I'm starting to wish Greg would get hit by a car on a foggy night. We cut to later that night where, of course, Greg is whining about how long they've been waiting. Jam says that it's supposed to happen at midnight, which also doesn't make sense. Why midnight? Like, the girl couldn't have been killed at midnight. She was waiting to get picked up for prom. Ain't no prom starting at midnight. Well, maybe vampire prom. Greg continues being obnoxious by saying this.
Do you guys feel as stupid as I do?
No. No one could feel as stupid as you do, Greg. Dee Dee starts to hear something and comments that it sounds like wind chimes. I don't see how that ties to the prom ghost thing, but okay. Greg continues trying to explain away ghosts by saying,
That could be anything. That could be the wind through the trees. That could be something on a grave. That could be anything.
yeah, including wind chimes. They suddenly see a figure in white walking through the graveyard holding wind chimes. See? It was just wind chimes. Wait, why would a ghost be holding wind chimes? Greg isn't buying it and approaches the ghost. Also, what is going on with Greg's shirt here? Is it just like a loose shirt? Or a blouse? I'm calling blouse. It's revealed that the wind chime ghost is Jam's cousin Chuck, whom Jam dressed up to scare Greg. Seems that Jam doesn't really believe in ghosts either. So then why were either of them in the cemetery in the first place? Hey, do you believe in ghosts? No. Do you? Nope. Cool. So you want to go look for ghosts? You've been reading my diary? Let's do it! Suddenly the road to the cemetery gets foggy, and a car can be seen driving up in the mist. In response, Greg says,
It's a car.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. It's Ricky there in his car to pick up his prom date, who turns out to be Jam's cousin. I kid, it's Dee Dee, obviously. She transforms into her prom dress off camera for budgetary reasons and explains what's going on.
You see, I couldn't leave the cemetery unless someone brought me with them. And then you solved the mystery of why Ricky never picked me up and got him to come.
Hold on. Is that Dean from the Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice? Looking good as a ghost, my man. Dee Dee thanks the boys and says that she'll never forget them, which, is actually pretty meaningless since she's dead and all. But anyway, the boys watch her drive off with Ricky, and legend has it that Greg never ever became less whiny and died a virgin. The end. I may have added that last part. Kristen finally pulls off her veil, stating that her tale is done. Then Gary ends the meeting, and we see, well, the most supernatural element of the whole show. He poured like a cup's worth of water on that fire, and it went out? I'm calling shenanigans. Of course, now that I think about it, they're always pretty careless putting that fire out. Lucky they haven't burned down the forest. Or maybe they have, and that's why they always insist on meeting in secret.
Shh.
Now for the review. I really don't know how I feel about this one. On one hand, the concept of the surprise ghost is a good one. I mean, it's an idea so good that M. Night Shyamalan would make his career off of it just 7 years later. However, this was not executed with enough scares to make it a good ghost story. The scene with the fake ghost would have been a great opportunity for a good scare, but they don't capitalize on it. The only moments of tension we get are the bubbly river and the old lady bringing tea at the library.
Do children like some tea?
I do think the music was effective in places, but just not when it mattered most. While some might find In the Still of the Night creepy when the ghost car shows up at the end, to me the scene itself just wasn't spooky enough for the song to have an impact. Younger me wouldn't have found the story scary, but he would have been asking why Ricky was driving a 1955 Chevy convertible in pink when that wasn't a factory color option at the time. Maybe that's just adult me asking.
Gotcha. It was awesome. I thought you were going to have a cow.
The acting in this episode was acting, I guess. The trouble here is that I don't think the actors really get to stretch their talents out. There's never really any tension that lets them show fear, so we, in turn, as the audience, don't feel fear. There aren't really any adult actors to speak of, and no, I'm not counting Arsenic and Old Lace from the library scene. She's in it so little blink and you'd miss her, so I'll be focusing on the teens. Dee Dee is fine. I think if she'd have gotten to play things a little more aloof or just odd, maybe it could have lent a bit more mystery to the character, but she just seems pretty normal until she, has the ability to speak with the dead. Even then, it happens and then she's right back to being normal again. Greg was interesting to me. He starts off like he's going to be the nice guy out of the two male leads, but then he just turns into this whiner. I mean, to the actor's credit, he whines with the best of them, and made me hate him. I was definitely Team Jam by the end of the story. And Jam was a great red herring character. He's so creepy throughout that you think something is definitely going on with this guy. Like, if you did suspect one of them of being a ghost, he would be the one. But then he just turns out to be this practical joker. Kristen, while I found this an improvement over the Tale of the Hungry Hounds, it doesn't quite meet the approval of the Midnight Society.
Sit down, you geek.
What did you all think of Kristen's story? Did you see it as a kid? What were some of your favorite tales from the series? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out our next episode about the tale of the Pinball Wizard. Until next time, are you afraid of the dark?
Excellent. 2 gruesome deaths.
Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and a share. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified when more Midnight Society episodes go up. And we've got a ton of other cool shows on the channel, so stick around. You might find something else that you like.